Hi everyone, welcome to our new channel dedicated to Microsoft Fabric. This is a series about data integration, data engineering, and data science within Microsoft Fabric. Today, Raj is joining me to discuss Copilot for data engineers and data scientists. We titled the episode Introducing Copilot in Microsoft Fabric, Data Engineering and Data Science Artifacts. To start, as Raj is the first time you are here, could you please introduce yourself and share what you are working on?
Yeah, absolutely. And Estera, thank you so much for the opportunity to share Fabric Copilot for data science and data engineering to your audience. My name is Raj Rikhy. I am the product manager for Fabric Copilot for DSDE. I've been with the team now for about a year. Very passionate about empowering data scientists and data engineers in the overall scope of the Fabric workflow. Now we've been working on this kind of alongside, bringing it into public preview. Excited to have gotten a lot of feedback, and we're continuing to make investments. And I'm thrilled to share more about Copilot and maybe some interesting insights on it.
Looking forward, as Copilot is on the way. Right now, everyone is talking about it. Having Copilot for writing a code, it's like game-changing functionality. We have a Copilot for Word documents, for PowerPoints, and for what? And for GitHub, GitHub Copilot, also our product. But now it's embedded inside Fabric. Can you start with just sharing, for those who are hearing for the very first time, Copilot and maybe connection with Microsoft Fabric? What is that and how it's embedded?
Absolutely. So Copilot, particularly in the scope of Microsoft, is designed to be a productivity accelerant, designed to be a companion that helps you in not only adjusting and improving your workflow using Microsoft products, but particularly in the scope of Microsoft Fabric. The idea is for Copilot to provide assistance that is contextual, data aware, and that will help you in the course of defining and deriving insights for data located in Microsoft Fabric and OneLake. Now, whether that is within the scope of, as an example, a Power BI report, or whether it's in the scope of, as an example today, a Fabric notebook, Copilot is designed to be where you are and to help you work in the way that you work, leveraging the power of Azure OpenAI and LLMs.
Can you show us how to enable, how to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of kick things off here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I got a basic Fabric notebook here. I have open Copilot prerequisite package. This is something inside of public preview that you're going to want to have to run before we get started. But if I click this button in Copilot, what you'll see here is a few things. First of all, you see the chat pane, and this is pretty cool if you're already familiar. You have Edge, the chat pane here in Copilot. This one is embedded inside of Fabric notebooks. And the value of having this chat pane here is that it is contextually aware, not just about your data, but it is also aware of all of the inputs and outputs that you have inside of your notebook. And so, as an example, having run this prerequisite package, what you'll see is this initial set of documentation. Now I can always get started, right? I can always go ahead and ask Copilot, as an example, what are some of the tables that are in the attached lakehouse? Or I should say, can you tell me some details of some of the tables, right? And so as you can see here on the left-hand side, I've attached a lakehouse to this notebook, and I have a couple of tables in here. I want to make sure that I can, ask questions about them, maybe even manipulate them, work with them, etc. And Copilot, if I added it inside of the chat pane here, I wouldn't necessarily get any kind of information that is specific to that's in my lakehouse. But as you can see here, Copilot is able to provide, a bunch of interesting information. As an example, it gives me all of the columns, and let's do some corresponding here. credit score, age, etc. There's actually both a list of the tables that are available as well as some metadata that Copilot's created to help me understand better, what is actually inside of the table at a glance, right? Really interesting. And I would love to get some more information. What I can do in addition to this, right? Let's say I have this information in the chat pane, but this is a Fabric notebook. What I want to do is I want to go and execute some interesting stuff inside of Fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and, let's get started. I want to take this and pop into the notebook. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to take a table that's in my lakehouse and add a data frame. And you'll see after I ran these commands, and I haven't really talked about it, but I am going to do now, you'll see a bunch of, percents spread all over. Now, if you're familiar with notebooks, you'll note that this is a magic command, right? And magic is actually a specific thing inside of notebooks. A magic command allows you to have a shortcut for invoking a particular type of thing, like pip install as an example. And you can have access to talking to the LLMs inside of the notebook in addition to chatting with Copilot on the right-hand side. So I asked, hey, can you give me some interesting insights about the data? And actually, this is what it's doing. It's going through, it's evaluating the data in the data frame. It's giving me actual points of insight. As an example, credit score analysis. What is that, right? It's exploring the relationship between credit score and other variables. The number of products column represents the number of products held. This is all stuff that, like, if I wasn't familiar with any of this out of the gate, Copilot can help me not only describe the data and help me understand it, but it could also provide me some interesting, let's say, recommendations for models too. So if I wanted to take a step further, and again, just to give some highlights, right? Like, what are some machine learning models that I could use on top of this DF clean data frame? And what I expect when I input that text is, I want Copilot to analyze what we just talked about. Now, notice, I was in the notebook. When I put % chat, I kind of commit that to the notebook and I can go back and return to it. If I didn't want to do that, I can hop back into the chat frame. And what I expect is Copilot retains all of that context and it can give me some output. Now, let's take a look. So Copilot actually went through, it's given me some example code. I'm going to expand the model here.
Can we inject the code immediately?
Yes. You can either copy the code and add it yourself, or you can have the insert code function, which adds it to the bottom of the notebook. And as you can see here, this is the bottom of the notebook and it added in directly. So it's gone through. It actually recommended 3 different types of models: linear regression, decision tree, and random forest. And it has gone through and provided commentary as well inside the cell, which is kind of interesting, about what those 3 models are. And it also gave me a little bit of explanation about why it did that, right? So it's splitting the data into features X and target variables, et cetera. So there's the possibilities here for starting from scratch and navigating through data and data analysis are pretty much limitless, right? The idea being that you are able to seamlessly transition from zero knowledge about data to being actionable and really transforming data with the help of Copilot, kind of like not necessarily taking the wheel, but Copilot, sitting side by side with you, asking the questions and driving it to the right outcome. I think the possibilities are really endless.
Yeah, it's Copilot, not pilot. That's why we
That's
have
right.
like better together, have the better together story. At the same time, for example, the documentation. Devs love to write the code and just make the code working. And then what about testing? What about documentation for the every method function? Now it's effortless, meaning it's not zero effort. Now it requires communication with Copilot, but it's significantly simplify the work. Plus, it can bring open more doors, meaning that we see a lot of code on GitHub And with having a proper documentation, a good code, documented code, we can just spread our solutions across the industries and across the boundaries. Could you comment what are the limitations, how to enable Copilot for our tenant, if that's working for the trial capacity, and what are the costs related to using Copilot?
Absolutely. So a couple of things. Number one, in order to use Copilot, you will either have to have a P1 SKU or higher, so P1, P2. It does not today work on trial capacities. Also in Fabric, you would need to have a F64 SKU or greater. So those are kind of the minimum bar. One thing to also note is that for Copilot, it works very similarly to how any other capacities are metered or billed inside of Fabric, which is to say that token input and output incur capacity usage, CU utilization. I'm happy to, what I can do is I can post the link as well if folks are interested for the exact details. Obviously, depending on what you're trying to do, if it's, insane amounts of tokens, right? Like you're doing some awesome, pipelines of stuff. It's going to consume a lot of capacity, but but it's really about like tokens input and tokens output in terms of CU utilization and what you want to do.
So no additional costs.
Right. Good question. Thank you. Yes, there's no additional incremental cost for Copilot usage.
Awesome. Raj, could you comment on the semantic layer? Because this term is almost in every place on the documentation. What's the mapping between semantic layer? What's the correlation between semantic layer and lakehouse, the code? How to explain that?
Yeah, and when you say semantic layer, do you mean I think you mean semantic model, right?
Yes.
Yeah, semantic model. Yeah.
Layer from analysis services more, but yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So semantic models are the backing data set for that Power BI really operates off of, right? And part of the benefit of having interoperability of that data set inside of OneLake and accessibility via different artifacts, like for example, data science, is that you have the ability to both read, understand, and create models and derivative data sites, insights, and things like that on top of that existing core copy, as well as correspond those insights back to a particular report that's exposed inside of Power BI. And in fact, one of the integrations that we have inside of Copilot is Semantic Link. And Semantic Link actually permits the native interactivity inside of the notebook for semantic models, both for Copilot as well as for data scientists. So the notion of taking a semantic model, converting it into what we call a Fabric data frame, having Copilot operate off of that and provide code for interacting with that semantic model. Those are all natural extensions of Copilot today. And the value that data scientists have is the fact that you have all of this data, captive inside of OneLake, means that you have a consistent record of that same data. You're operating off of the same thing, and anything that you create, you push back into the lakehouse, and you can continue that virtuous cycle of iterate, insight, and push back to complete that loop.
Makes sense. So it's kind of a meta layer which connects different levels of abstractions, because for the lakehouse on the visual layer, it will be just tables, columns, and data types. And for
and then you can for the Copilot for notebooks, right, to take that the copy of that data and operate with it in memory, right? Because the way the data scientists are used to operating over data is not like flat files, right? They want to experiment over that. And the construct for doing so is a data frame, right? And so we've taken that and we've innovated, on top of that, we've really extended all the same conventions that you're familiar with inside of Pandas and layered it into what we call, again, a Fabric data frame. And the Fabric data frame inherits a lot of those same conventions that you're familiar with in Pandas, and those same native operations, you can actually use inside of a notebook, and Copilot can also use as well, like whether it's for code generation, whether it's for actually like creating DAX queries inside of a notebook, which is pretty cool. People want to try that. Copilot is familiar with all of those things, given our native integration with Semantic Link.
So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this episode and if you have any question, remember to leave a comment, eventually hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. And until the next time, happy exploring and writing code with Copilot inside Fabric Data Engineering and Data Science. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Estera. Thank you, everyone.